Hello and welcome. My name is Biagio Mazza, Pastoral Associate at St. Sabina Parish in Belton, Missouri, and I'm here to welcome you to another Do You Know series question. Today's Do You Know question is, do you know why the first reading for the Easter season comes from the Acts of the Apostles? It's important to realize that for Vatican II, there was a revision of the lectionary, and the revision of the lectionary went from a one-year cycle, where we repeated the same readings every year, to a three-year cycle. And then they expanded the number of readings from the Sunday liturgy from 2 readings to 4 readings. So the first reading always would come from the Old Testament, and then you would have a responsorial psalm attached with it. Then the second reading would come from a letter of one of the New Testament letters, and then the gospel would always come from a particular gospel associated with that lectionary year. And there were 3 lectionary years, year A, B, and C. The Old Testament reading, by the way, was always selected in light of the Gospel reading, so I always had a link to it. It also linked to the responsorial psalm. For the Easter season, which is a festal season, the revisions of the lectionary, they had major arguments about whether they should maintain the Old Testament reading during the Easter season or not. And since traditionally it was from the early church, it was a custom that the readings for the Easter season would traditionally come from the Gospel of John, from the Acts of the Apostles, as well as from the first letter of Peter, the first letter of John, and the book of Revelation. Those were the traditional lectionary readings from the ancient church, or the early church, with regards to the Easter season. So in the revision, they decided to maintain those readings from the early lectionaries, and so they decided that instead of having the Old Testament reading during the Easter season, it would be the reading consistently from the Acts of the Apostles. Now, why the Acts of the Apostles? Well, the Acts of the Apostles actually focuses on the evolving of the church, the growth and the birth, actually, the birth of the church and the evolving of the church as a result of the followers of Jesus witnessing to his resurrection and living a new lifestyle, a new way of living as a result of that witnessing. And therefore, the Acts of the Apostles depicts that, evokes that birth of the church and following the resurrection, and therefore they felt there was a fitting selection of readings to be used for following the resurrection and celebrating the entire Easter season. And so to this day we will have, in all 3 liturgical cycles, we will have the readings from the Acts of the Apostles during the Easter reading. In year A, we'll have the second reading will always come from the first letter of Peter. In year B, it will always come from the first letter of John. And in year C, the second reading will always come from the book of Revelation. Interesting though, once you place the Acts of the Apostle reading soon after the resurrection, the readings themselves play havoc with linear time. What I mean by that is most of the readings for the Easter season, with the exception of Ascension itself and the seventh Sunday of Easter, actually all the readings from the Acts of the Apostles come from a post-Pentecost experience. Therefore, we're in the Easter season, and yet we're doing readings that from the Acts of the Apostles have a linear sequence after Pentecost. Yet, despite that, the Acts of the Apostles does focus us on that birth and that eventual growth and involvement of the church as the followers of Jesus tried to unpack his resurrection, witness to it, spread that word to others, and expanded what it means to be church. It was the evolution of the church. It's a step-by-step sequence, if you want, of the evolution of the church. And the foundation of the church was established primarily through the witnessing to Jesus and recorded in the Acts of the Apostles. And so for this and for a number of other reasons in the revision, the first reading for the Sundays of Easter will always come from the Acts of the Apostles. And it should help us focus on how we witness today to the resurrection of Jesus and how we live differently, what our lifestyle and our values are all about as a result of witnessing to the resurrection of Jesus. So as we celebrate the Easter season every year, it's important to reflect on our own witnessing to Jesus' resurrection and how that impacts our life and our way we think, way we act, and way we relate to others. So I hope this has helped to explain just a little bit about why the first reading for the Easter season comes from the Acts of the Apostles, and I hope you will return to more Do You Know questions to grow in our faith and in our knowledge of our traditions. Thank you very much.